What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Forging Alpha podcast, where we talk about fitness, nutrition, mindset, and pretty much everything it takes to live a great life.
Level up.
Level up, because there's levels to everything.
Levels to the game.
And today we're talking about environment specifically.
Environment conducive to success.
Yes, because environment plays a huge role.
So, talk to you a little bit about that, because I'm sure people that do not have or have not thought about that are like, what do you mean, Ricky?
Yeah. So first off, there's a lot of different avenues that go into your environment. You have your home life, you have your work life, you have, even the actual geographical area that you live in, right? There's a lot of different factors that go into environment, and environment is going to determine a lot of your success. Because at the end of the day, obviously, we've talked about habits on here, but one of the things that makes habits even more accessible and gets you in that habitual flow quicker is the environment that you're in. So if you are in an environment that's not conducive to your goals, there's people that are not living the type of lifestyle that you want to live. That's not going to be a very easy place to succeed.
100%.
Whereas if you set yourself up in the right environment, like we're going to talk about, it just makes the game a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. And we've touched a little bit on environment related to who you're hanging out with, where you're at, but from a very literal sense, where you live and how you live makes a big impact, right? I am a firm believer, even though I'm not the greatest about it. I tend to get messy. I do a lot of cleaning, but that cluttered environment, cluttered mind.
100%.
And I notice, and a lot of people I feel like maybe don't notice it as much, but I guarantee subconsciously, if there's creating some stress response, you're thinking about that because your environment is claustrophobic. It's probably not conducive to you operating at 100%.
Yeah, there's just chaos everywhere. Or if your house is a mess, it's essentially just a bunch of loose ends or open tasks that are running. Like we've talked about that even with your mindset, how if you just have a whole bunch of stuff rattling around in your head all the time, that's not a very fun place to be.
It's really not.
It's chaotic. You're going to drop the ball on things. And the same goes to your environment. If it's a total mess, you're just not going to be as efficient, in my opinion.
Nope, not at all. And you hear a lot of successful people talk about that every single night they clean off their desk, or there's some way that they end that creates a good environment set up for the next day, right? And I really believe that. I experienced that both on the good and the bad. Whether it's, your vehicle, right? If you step into your car and it's like you forgot to clean something up the night before, you get up the next morning and it's like, oh, crap. Like, it's kind of messy. Like, it's stuck there in the back of your head. Like you mentioned, it's that open thing that it's just one more thing you've got to do that is not finished up. Then you get in the day after you get into like a cleaned car, there's like almost a satisfaction to it, right? It's almost like an accomplishment that is checking off a win. Right.
Yeah.
And the more of those small little wins you can stack up, it feels like you keep the momentum rolling, right? You're going to find wins in the bigger areas if you start with those small wins. And it can be even as simple as just making your bed in the morning or cleaning something up.
In the way that I look at that, it's doing your future self a favor, like thinking about tomorrow instead of just today.
Yeah.
Because if I, for example, as far as like getting up and going to the gym in the morning, one thing that makes that a lot simpler from an environment standpoint is if I lay out my clothes ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like I'm already awake. It's before I go to bed, go up there, pick out my gym clothes, pick out my work clothes, because then I'm going to shower at the gym. If I just take the 10 minutes to do that, it makes tomorrow so much better.
Just a small little thing.
And the same goes to like, maybe you're going to clean up the kitchen and do the dishes tonight so that you don't have to see that in the morning when you get up.
Yeah. We do a lot of getting the coffee set up for the next morning. Essentially, what you're doing is, one, you're creating some capacity, right? So that you've got some mental clarity and you're not focusing on those things. Eliminating decision-making fatigue the next day, because it's kind of like that thing of, I'm going to get gas in the morning. You're probably not going to want to go get gas in the morning versus if you just take care of that the night before and your environment is set up for you starting your day off, winning the day, winning the morning, and then winning your week, your month, your year ultimately your life.
Yeah,
right?
because then you're starting off the next day with this hypothetical 100% energy level, and you don't have to waste it on the stupid stuff you could have done yesterday.
Exactly. And the times when we get home late, maybe it was a trip or something, we're like, man, let's just go to bed. We'll clean up the next morning. There's always a level of like, I should have done this the night before.
Yeah.
When you do that, and it's versus like you maybe just, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it done because I know I'm setting up tomorrow to just be better from the get-go, right?
Yeah, and you're still going to have other things tomorrow that you need to take care of. So it's, if you don't handle those types of things today, you're just pushing it off to tomorrow's load, and that kind of compounds up.
100%.
Because instead of just doing today's work, you're doing yesterday's work as well.
Mm-hmm.
But environment's huge. What are some things that you've seen, like with clients and personal training, that type of thing, people that are trying to get into better shape? What are some environment changes that you see people make that make a big difference?
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of routes we can go with that.
There's so many.
For one, being in a conducive environment with who you're hanging out with, what you are consuming, makes a big impact, right? In what you are going to look for, value, and take action on. For example, like we've talked about probably multiple podcasts, if you're hanging around a bunch of people that all they do is drink, smoke, stay up late, don't work out, eat shitty, you're not going to be the person that is the exception. You're going to be eventually influenced by all those things versus not. So that aspect of if you're around people that have the same goals in mind, fitness-wise, nutrition-wise, you're just going to do it easier, right? You're making your life harder if you're putting yourself in environments, people, and places that are not in line with your goals. Even in terms of maybe like the environment of like what you're consuming. If I have people that have a hard time bulking, staying on track, and this is something that I did when I first started getting into it, I will make them watch an old school bodybuilding eating video while they're doing that, like creating like this mindset and this environment where like they're watching this motivational video about how you need to eat if you want to get big to do that, because it's always like those limiting beliefs start coming in, the old habits, the old mindset, and watching those videos, it almost helps create like that catalyst to eventually create habits and changes for those people. In terms of your environment, like with nutrition, for some people, man, if you know that you can have things in the house and be regulated, eat them in moderation, then go for it. But with a lot of people that I work with that can't, we got to create an environment that's conducive to that. Probably eliminate a lot of those things that maybe you binge on, right? Go out to eat some ice cream if you're going to do it. Don't have 3 tubs of ice cream in your freezer if that's your weak point.
Ice cream in the freezer is a tricky thing to do.
It is.
We just recently, like normally if we want to get ice cream, we'll get a Halo Top or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably like 2 months ago or a month ago, we got some Moose Tracks ice cream. So like the little quart thing or whatever it is. We've probably had like 3 of them now. And I think it's just me that's eating it. I'm like, oh yeah, we've got ice cream in the fridge. I'll go get like my little bowl of ice cream and eat that. And then I thought about the other day and I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like we just need to not have it in the house.
Yep. Especially if you go get something from like Costco.
Yeah.
Like we've done it where we get the big box of the ice cream bars. And then you've got them, right? And you've got them for a week. It's too easy. Too easy. Oreos, stuff like that. I'd say I'm decent about it, but it's still there. And I'm still going to eat it if it's more present.
Hey, but speaking of Costco though, did our first Costco home delivery.
Okay.
You put us onto that. So easy. Normally the reason we don't end up going to Costco is because it's like a Saturday, Sunday thing. Yeah. And then that's the last place I want to be on the weekend is at Costco because it's a madhouse.
Yeah.
At least the one up by our house is. So just order online, deliver it to our house like hour and a half later. It didn't take any time. There was almost no fee.
Yeah.
And then you have all your healthy options for the week.
Yeah. And it's a little more expensive online, but honestly, we spend so much money going in there and being like, oh, like that's on sale. That's a deal.
Yeah.
Or, oh, like we went in last time. We're like, oh, we need a new bed set. Let's grab that, put it in versus we're like, we would have spent less money and way less time by not
100%.
going into Costco and just ordering it. Like Costco is just a hole for me, at least.
They just have so much stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I honestly, I enjoy going, but yeah, it's honestly worth it almost just ordering. And that's another environment thing too. Like, let's talk about if there's a barrier of entry to you eating healthy, staying on track of it. I made a post or a story about this the other day about how, for me, the investment of some convenient things is worth it to me.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have this idealistic thing of, oh man, like I'll get back to meal prepping every single Sunday, spend hours doing that. We got things we're doing on the weekend. We got church. We've got the baby. We're trying to get our lives back in order. We do some meal prepping, but I don't have the bandwidth to meal prep like I used to.
Yeah.
Right. And I still have some flexibility where I still cook my meals during the day. But every single week I catch myself, if I don't have those convenient options on hand, scrambling. Right. Which then leads into me like missing meals, and then energy levels are low and it just trickles one thing into the other. So for me, like even just getting convenient options like pre-cooked steak, pre-cooked chicken, those Bibigo rice bowls.
I looked for the rice bowls. I couldn't find them on the online deal. I didn't know what they were called, so I just searched rice and I couldn't find them.
Bibigo.
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 Okay.
Bibigo. Yeah, those are a lifesaver. 90 seconds, sticky rice. But I noticed when I have those, and maybe it's just because I got so used to them, but I'm like, I've got 10 pounds of rice in the cupboard. I'll get the rice cooker out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I forgot to do this earlier in the day. I didn't set an alarm, and now I don't have 20 minutes to wait for the rice cooker to cook. So for me, like investing into the convenience, whether that's getting things just delivered or convenient options, helps me stick to my goals, helps me stay on track with things. And I think that all factors into your environment too, of like, you know, if you value something, don't make your life harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Because it's already hard. And if that's going to help you stay on track, and you're using this ideal situation that's stuck in your head, the story that you're telling yourself, which ultimately is keeping you from your goals, you're either going to keep swimming in that box or you got to change something. So I know we're getting off track with the environment aspect, but it makes the world the difference with everything that you do. Like if it's not conducive to the goal at hand, you're not going to accomplish the goal. So what about you? What have you seen both for yourself, with other people, being in the fitness world, but also, you know, being in the professional space, being in charge of people? Like what have you noticed with that, with organization, with clarity?
Yeah, you've got to be in an environment that's, well, let's talk about focus first off. So we recently moved into, I guess it's been 8 months ago now that we moved into the office we're at now. And before that, we were in a smaller office. It was about half the size. We had probably 12 to 15 people in there, and there were no like separate individual offices. So it was just one communal space. And we had like 1 or 2 rooms that were closed off. But that meant that you had 12 to 15 people in that space that are talking, communicating, doing their own thing. Everybody's trying to get their jobs done. And it's so distracting to be into that type of space. And now that we moved to the current office, people have a lot more like secluded areas where they can shut their door and do work. And that's one thing that makes a monster difference for me. I get distracted pretty easily. So if I can be in a space that doesn't have as much stimulus going on, which I'd assume would be the case for most people, I can get 3 times as much work done in the same amount of time than I would be in an area that's distracted. Mm-hmm. And that makes a huge difference. So paying attention to like how your own work habits are. And if you do get distracted easily, then maybe it's noise canceling headphones, or it's going to work at a coffee shop, or whatever it is. But just to get yourself away from the distractions is a huge thing you can do environment wise.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
A big thing for me, because I work from home a lot.
Yeah.
Like I've got a remote career, and over the last few years since really being into that, some of the slippery slopes that I catch myself in are working in multiple places in the house, not just my office, right? Like I'll I'll be needing to do something and I'll do a work block on the couch, kitchen, which is like, at first you're like, oh, cool, I can do this from anywhere. What happens though, and this is the power of environment, is that I start correlating the place that should be relaxing with work.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, a lot of times at home, it's almost more of a stress point because I'm sitting there on the couch, especially if I, was doing more work from there in the afternoons. I'm sitting watching TV and I'm finishing out some projects on the computer. A lot of times I can't fully sit down and relax without feeling like I need to be doing work. Like, there's no separation of those things. And it honestly creates like a place where it burns more of my fuse, because home should be someplace like that is relaxing, right? You need to have isolated places that are for work, for doing relaxation. And when that starts blending in for me, and those are all kind of meshed up and there's not that hard line of what gets done where, I start associating work with that. And it's just like this constant feedback loop of stress, because I'm sitting there and I can't relax because I'm always thinking about work and relating that to my environment. So I really try hard now to do most of my work in my office, or I'm out of the house. I'm working at different locations and doing that. So then when I come home, I'm able to like hard shut off, be present. My house is what my house should be and should feel like. I feel like that's where a lot of people that work remotely, that work like in their bedroom, right? They're working in bed. They're sitting on their laptop in there. Eventually, you're going to start associating your bed with work, and your sleep's going to start getting worse, because you're going to be thinking about work while you're in your bed, because that's where you're associating work at. And that's not going to be very conducive for all the things we talked about with recovery and sleep and being able to produce and recover. So for me, that's a big thing.
Yeah. Speaking of working on the couch, I think it was like 2 nights ago, maybe 3 nights ago, I had some wedding. I still do some weddings, video and photography and stuff like that. Lauren and I do. And we are kind of a little bit backlogged on the editing. So I was like home from work, worked out in the morning. So it's been like kind of a long day already. And I sat on the couch I was like, all right, I'm just going to sit on the couch. I don't want to sit in an office chair. I've been doing it all day.
Yeah.
Make it comfortable and edit this wedding video. And it was 10 minutes in, I fell asleep. It just... and then I was like, afterwards, I was fighting it, like trying to stay up, trying to edit. And it was useless. It was a waste of time that I didn't rest or get re-energized or anything. I also didn't do much productively. It was just kind of like just a piss off of 2 hours, completely wasted it. And that goes into environment. Like, you're not going to sit there and be productive and also be super comfortable and chill. Like, they don't go together.
Yeah. Because whether you like it or not, your brain associates multiple things with what you're doing. You can try to fight that as much as you want to, but it's you're never going to be able to win that battle. And one thing I'm working on is, this relates to that topic of your environment and like certain areas that are designated for certain things, but I am kind of on and then sort of kind of on. Right. I have a hard time at this point completely shutting off. And one thing I'm really working towards is fully on or fully off, where I'm completely off. Because I feel like you can't fully recover mentally or physically. It'd be like working out, like going to the gym and then coming home and you're just doing push-ups every single hour for the rest of the day, right? You're just kind of still working out versus like completely recovering. Like, you're waking up every single hour and doing some squats. And like mentally for me, I noticed that, if I'm still like, I'll go do a little bit of work here and there, or like, oh, I forgot about something. For me, it's got to be hard stops, because those are the times where I actually recover to then put my all back into it when I'm fully on, and like either full sprint or full on relaxing. And you see that with like athletes, right? Like Michael Jordan, he was all on when he was on the court. As soon as he stepped off the court, he had a cigar on hand and was like golfing on his off days on the weekends. And like, that was his system for like being fully on or fully off. And I feel like that's a secret for people, and your environment plays a big role in that. At least it does for me.
It totally does, especially if you work from home.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is kind of it is important to talk about that, because that's a newer thing that people have going on. It used to be the only way you're going to be working from home is, I guess, like online trainer type situation, which has only been around for the last few years. Um, there weren't a lot of remote jobs.
Yeah.
5-10 years ago, and with the lockdown, everything like that, there's so many more people that are working from home, and they're running into those new obstacles that they just didn't have before.
Yeah. First world problems.
It totally is. One of the environment type situations, which was also related to the lockdown, that's when I built my home gym and started the home gym YouTube channel and stuff like that, Garage Gym Gains. And one of the common issues that people kind of had a little bit with, specifically with environment, is they're used to leaving their house to go to the gym. They're like drinking their pre-workout on the drive. They're listening to music. You have kind of that separation, and then you get to the gym and that's where you work out. Whereas a lot of people run into the problem of, say they have a garage gym, you go outside to work out, but you just walked through the kitchen and went outside.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really easy between sets. You come back inside and you're like, maybe you're still doing some chores or something like that. It can be tough to build that different environment that makes it conducive to pushing towards your fitness goals.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Are you somebody that's like that?
So whenever I build a home gym, I'm in the process of building a home gym now. I try to make it look and feel like a gym.
Yeah.
So I don't run into that as much. But there were definitely some times where, especially like training for powerlifting, got some long breaks between sets and stuff like that, where I 100%, I went back inside and would be like doing the dishes or something. And I catch myself like, well, this is stupid. Just work out and do that one thing.
Yeah. 100%. And that's where I feel like, because I'm building a garage gym route right now. I mean, we're building and adding more to it, but it feels like a gym. Like we've got the turf, we've got the pads in there, and lighting and stuff. And if it was just like a squat rack in the back corner of all your storage, you're not going to make it work very well.
Yeah.
You know?
I've been looking through Marketplace, trying to find some gym equipment lately, and I'll just pop through and see everything. And there's so many where you'll see like, it's either just a corner of a room or like in a garage where it's like, it's literally a garage that happens to have a squat rack.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no wonder you don't want to work out from home. You put zero effort into setting up the environment.
Yeah. You got to wade through all the storage boxes and you're squatting
Yeah.
between bins and
you're just
shoe storage.
Squat in your storage room. Yeah. I can
Yeah.
see why you're not super excited to work out there.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. Anything else that there's like examples of you can think of with like the gym separation? You know, I think that's a big thing of like keeping your bed, especially with sleep, because we've talked about sleep, the issues with that most people have. If you're anybody that's doing anything outside of resting, sleeping, and maybe some extracurricular activities in your bed, you're going to associate that with that said thing.
Yeah.
And like if you're hanging out in your bed all day, right? If you're working from there, if you spend too much time writing, watching TV, yeah, in some way you can't convince me logically that you're not going to be disrupting like the sleep pattern. I get into bed, for the most part, I fall asleep really, really well. Like that's the one place I don't touch. My phone doesn't stay in the same bedroom as me. It's in a different one. I use a Sunrise alarm system. So like my phone isn't in the bedroom at night. And I fall asleep relatively well. That's because my environment is like set up for that. Right. And that's a big thing we can get into talking about, setting up for like good sleep, right? If you don't have a dark room, if you don't have a cool room, if it's not a comfortable room, you're not going to sleep super well. Right.
100%. Yeah, I don't have we had like an off-brand Sunrise alarm that worked okay.
Yeah.
We need to probably get one of the legit ones, but I do at least put my phone in the bathroom, which is across the room. I've been doing that for quite a while now. And yeah, it used to be like if you can just grab your phone and you're scrolling through whatever you're scrolling through right before you're trying to go to bed, it's probably not going to work super well. And because it's right by your bed when you're going to sleep, it's also a lot of times the first thing people are going to grab in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a good way to start your day.
It's not. Are you good about that?
About not being on my phone very much in the morning, or
Yeah, like first thing you're doing.
Yeah. So I will. I'll generally like my phone is still my alarm, so I'll get up. and I'll turn off my alarm, and I'll usually at least look at the notifications to see if like I had a text or a call or something. But I'm not getting on to like scroll through Instagram or Facebook first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I try to not touch it until after my workout.
Yep.
Sometimes it works a little bit better than other times, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty good about it for the most part.
Yeah, it's a good habit. I mean, another environmental thing. Yeah, I do the same thing. I'll get over there, do a quick browse, and then I'm putting it away. Some mornings, and this has been a goal of like not getting on it for the first hour.
Yeah.
Because your brain like has to have a reboot up process. And that's one of those things that goes into if you're just rolling out of bed every single day, like and it's just straight coffee, caffeine, out the door stress without like any bandwidth to just let a reboot process go. Like they've proven with neuroscientists that your brain has to go through this reboot up period. You've got to let your brain waves like level up and go to this cascade from, I don't know the exact order, but you go from delta waves like when you're sleeping to more of the alpha waves when your body and your brain are in a position to like absorb information, handle that process. And if you short circuit that process, it's going to be a very stressed out day.
Yeah.
If you're doing that all the time, like first thing you're doing is going to like news and gossip and smut, and that's the first thing you're exposed to without giving your brain a break. You're just going to coffee and caffeine, and that's the first inputs of your day. And no wonder you're running around and your life sucks.
Yeah, because you're so much more impressionable in the morning.
Yeah.
So if there's a time to listen to like a motivating speech or something in that realm, it's probably first thing in the morning.
Audiobook, study. Yeah, your brain is very plastic during that time, and putting good inputs in there can really set up the rest of your day.
Yeah, and if the alternative of that is bad inputs, which is the chaos of social media and news outlets and things of that nature, and yeah, that's how you start your day, and then that's how your drive goes, and then it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the day.
Yep, environment.
What about from a food standpoint?
From a food standpoint, anything specifically? One thing I can think of is setting up an environment for like my gym mornings in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I've got it set up to like this morning, what I'm doing pre-workout, I'm doing rice pudding, OJ, protein bar shake. Sometimes I'm doing like some toast, like something I can get in literally within 10 minutes and then I'm out the door. So for me, I've got convenient options. I've got grab and go options. Like I've got those hard boiled eggs, or I've got like steak, chicken packets I can take with me and go. So setting myself up for that to where the meals that I don't have prep time for, I can't sit down and do all that stuff. It's there, it's present, it's grab and go. I'm out the door. Like I'll set it up for like coconut water, big coconut water guy. I'll have those things where I can just grab it. That's the first thing I'm reaching for in the morning before I'm going to coffee. I'll have my electrolyte supplements up there. A lot of times the night before, like I'll fill up my gallon jug or my water jug so that it's the first thing I'm grabbing when I wake up in the morning and I'm drinking water before I'm looking at pre-workout or coffee, energy drink. So setting up that, organizing things so that it's not a clusterfuck when you are trying to find things that you need to find.
Because your morning brain does not always work as well as your nighttime brain.
No.
At least mine doesn't.
No. So that's where if you got like an early morning workout, setting things up for success to where hard-boiled eggs and some overnight oats. That's a go-to for mine. I'll get those pre-made like Brekkies or whatever they're called. We get a brand from Aldi called Brekkie, but there's another one of like overnight oats mush.
Oh,
those mush overnight oats. Yeah, if you want to put that together and make some overnight oats, it's super easy. But something like that where boom, boom, eat it, get out the door. It's still better than you grabbing a coffee and a donut. Setting yourself up for success that way, do it. I think having something like a big grill, like I've got a Blackstone grill, like I've got an environment where I can cook a bunch of food in a quick amount of time and I don't have to use 4 different pans. I can put a lot of food out there, cook big breakfast meal prep a few things if I need to. That's an environmental thing that's conducive to eating healthier, eating better, maybe making up a lot of my proteins and putting them in a Ziploc so that I've got that. I think that some type of meal prepping, it's always good. I am not a big fancy meal prepper, so I don't do like a 5-course meal in a Tupperware and do that. I cook all my proteins, put them in Ziploc bags. So it's kind of grab and go for that. I've got some things that are easily accessed, like my rice, my veggies, my fruit. So then it's just quick grab and go. And I can just piece some things together versus stressing over putting together like this perfect meal that's just, grabbing out of the thing. But I spent 7 hours doing that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure back in the day, like college and stuff, I spent like half of my Sunday meal prepping.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is awesome if you want to do that. If that's what you do for a living, you're a competitive bodybuilder, you need to do that. Or have a meal prep service who does that for you. There's a lot of resources out there now that you can, get those ready-made options. But yeah, so food-wise, make it conducive to your lifestyle, whether that's meal prepping, getting it set up, whether that's convenient options, whether that's like a meal prep delivery service. Like there are some people, man, that still really fight against that notion of getting my meals prepped because they're like, oh, I like going to the store. I like shopping. I like making all my meals fresh. And it's like, well, you're only doing that 10% of the time. And then you're either skipping meals or you're eating out. Why don't you lean into one of these meal prep services where it's grab and go? Yeah, maybe we don't want to be doing that all year long for every single one of your meals. But if it's getting you closer to your goal than not, lean into that because most people are not getting any less busy, right? There's always more things added to the plate, more things that they're doing. And for me, like that's just something I value, right? The juice is worth the squeeze with making sure that that's somewhat dialed in whatever capacity, whether that's spending more money on it, spending more time, but making it conducive to your life and making it less decisive when you need to not be making decisions, when it just needs to be automated. So
yeah, anytime there's a way that you can make a decision that takes care of decisions down the road,
yep,
generally a good idea. So if you have maybe it could even be as simple as for a while, and I still do kind of have like a bunch of different pairs of socks, like different types of socks. But you always have this one type of pair of socks that you prefer to wear over the others. And I was finally like, this is stupid. I'm always looking for like this same pair. Just buy more of those. Like those little decisions that don't seem like a big deal, but if they take care of a decision today and tomorrow and the next day, that's going to be really helpful.
100%. That's a topic too with convenience. We use paper plates a lot.
Yeah.
And, is it the best for the environment? Maybe not. But man, like with everything that we got going on in life, doing less dishes is a worthy trade-off for me because, yeah, maybe you build some character doing dishes, but there's 100 other things I would rather be spending my time doing. I'm trying to figure it out right now for even like laundry situation. Because, I mean, laundry is hard to get around. I think outside of, though, like maybe isolating some things down to where like, the things that you like wearing. And one thing I'm going to try to do is like get more of what I like, but less of like all the variety and the clutter.
100%.
Yeah. I think that can be also a goal for whatever it is in your life. We all have way too much shit that we don't use.
Yeah.
And like getting rid of that, if it's causing less clutter, less chaos, less stress in your life, like I really do respect a lot like the minimalistic where I do too. Like nice things that last a long time. They get the job done. You don't look like a trailer park junkie.
Not just having a bunch of crap to have a bunch of crap.
Not just having a bunch of crap. Yeah. And it's something I've always been, not a hoarder, but I've always been like, oh, I should hold on to that for like nostalgia's sake, or I'll get around to using that. 90% of the time I'd be much better off just getting rid of it because it's like an extra stressor thing. Like as much as like I've moved over the past few years, it's like, oh, just one more thing we got to pack up and bring with you. I've gotten a lot better about just letting things go. Like if I haven't used it in the last year, get rid of it. One of my clients had an interesting thing where they turned the hanger with the article of clothing.
Oh yeah.
The opposite way. And if they didn't use it over the course of the year and like turn it, because you would turn the hanger back if you used it. If you didn't use that over the course of like 6 months or a year, got rid of it.
I just went through a closet kind of sort of clean out.
Yep.
Condensed some things. I feel like I could probably get rid of easily 60%
yeah.
of my closet.
I think there's some freedom in that.
There totally is. There's something about having less things that feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. Less things to worry about.
Yeah.
You hear this all the time from people that own multiple houses, is that at a certain point, it's like it becomes more of a hassle than it is adding to their life. My mentor Jason just like downsized by like 2,000 square feet. He still lives in a pretty big house, but
Yeah.
he's like, it became more of a hassle with housekeepers and having to bring in people to keep that maintained.
Yeah.
That it was more of a stressor than just downsizing, because I ultimately realized I didn't need all of that. I didn't really want it at the end of the day.
I might be doing some downsizing this weekend.
You think so?
Probably not, but I need to.
It's a good
I
thought.
need to.
It's a good thought. I think that there's, yeah, and even if it's just doing that, and you're starting new with other stuff.
And
like
it can be overwhelming. But something that a really simple way to do it is like just throw away or donate like 5 things a day or whatever it is. Like you don't have to tackle all of it at once.
Yeah.
But as long as you're like making an effort to get rid of the stuff that you don't need, I think that's a really good place to start.
I think so too. And making your environment conducive to all those aspects. So like for me, like with our house, I want the gym to like feel like a gym.
Yeah.
Be like a gym, like where it's, you go in there and it's fun to be in. We've got a roofed in back patio. So I want to make that like relaxing and a fun place to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to put, like, I've got my cold plunge back there. I'm going to get more of like a tub version of a cold plunge. Put that on a piece of turf. I'm going to get an outdoor pull-up rack.
Nice.
A dip rack that's just going to stay out there all year long, so that when I come out in the morning, like get some sunshine, cold plunge, pull-ups, dips, knee tucks, be able to do that outside. I want to get a piece of cardio. I'm probably going to get like a stationary bike that stays on the back deck, so I can come out first thing in the morning, summer times, do some cardio in the sunshine, and make it just conducive for like starting my day off well, and start it off the way I want to be.
Everything's already set up. You don't have to like go grab this type thing. Just have the place to do it.
One thing I've been doing in the mornings, like after cold plunges, I'll get out first thing and I'll do jump rope on the backyard, and I just leave it hanging up in the back porch. So I walk out, usually I'm in my slippers, 2-minute timer, 2 minutes of jump rope, getting the body woke up, sunshine.
That's probably an awesome way to wake up.
100%. So I think getting an Airdyne bike or something out there, doing it that way.
Yeah, because that goes into the energy that you carry throughout the day, and your energy is really important for everything. But the fastest way that you can change that mental energy is by changing the state of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're moving around, kind of raising that state, getting your heart rate up, it's gonna help you think more clearly. You're gonna have better ideas. You're gonna be energized. Just an awesome way to start the day.
Absolutely. And having those things in front of you, accessible, you're gonna lean into those things more than if they're like tucked away. Eric Hinman is a great example of this. This guy I think he's preparing for like Masters CrossFit. He's an angel investor. He literally does 2 workouts a day every single day. He has a really cool setup. He calls it Muscle Mountain at his home in Colorado. They got a full outdoor gym that's set up out there with like multiple cold plunges, saunas, all the cardio equipment, a big strip of turf, and it just stays out there, even in the snow, like all year long. He does workouts like in the snow and just leaves all that equipment out there. At the beginning of their house, they've got a full setup of like snacks, a refrigerator with like drinks. He's sponsored by a lot of companies like Element and stuff, but he's got all of that like accessible out there. So you get done with a sauna workout, you've got your protein access, you've got your Chomp snacks, you've got your electrolytes that are right there accessible. He puts all of his supplements in bins that you can see, like those plastic bins you would put flour, things, rice in, and he marks them and he puts them out on the counters so that the supplements are like right there accessible. He gets up, he takes some throughout the course of the day when he needs to. They got like water dispensers, different places throughout their house, like remind them to drink more water. They got a gym in their garage. Like the complete setup of his house is based around health and wellness and it being accessible and like a constant reminder that it's there, which is a pretty cool idea for anything. Like if you struggle with drinking water, make it so you're tripping over it. If you have a hard time doing it with your supplements, put them in the bathroom next to your toothbrush. Like all those little things, especially because we always get on the topic of health and wellness, fitness and nutrition. Make it so that it's almost impossible to miss it. You've got to make a conscious decision not to do that said action. Yeah, big deal.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, my supplements are in the kitchen in a cabinet, and that's how. So I wake up, I go downstairs, pour a big glass of water, take my supplements. It's all like just habitually right there. It makes it easy. Whereas if I was going somewhere else to find them, then it's more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Life's already hard enough and you already have enough decisions to make. So anything that you can do ahead of time so you don't have to make all those decisions is going to be huge.
And my truck, like I've always got it set up for in case of emergencies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll keep some protein powder in there in case I need to. I'll have bottles of water so that something happens, I forget my water, I don't bring it. I've got bottles of water to get that. I'll have some protein bars in there. I'll have, like, sometimes the night before I work out, I will put like my pre-workout in there and a bottle of water so that I get in the car, pour it, I'm hitting the road. And those things are kind of just set up that way. Kind of the idea of like setting out your clothes the night before. You can set out your clothes the night before with a lot of different things. So yeah, environment.
Yeah, environment, it just it'll either make everything easier or it'll make everything harder.
Yep. It's always a work in progress. And it's kind of fun for me, like figuring out those ways to like either streamline things, make it more accessible, more efficient, and ultimately, like, reduce decisions that I've got to make.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people don't spend enough time thinking about that type of thing.
No.
And oftentimes it seems like people kind of forget that they have control over their environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the case. Like if you want to say your room's ugly and you hate it, you can paint it and make it a room that you like being in.
Yeah. You can make things, like when my office gets out of whack.
Yeah.
It's like, it's on the back of my mind. I don't really want to be there. But as soon as it's cleaned up, like I've got some plants in there. I've got my gun wall. I like being in there. Right. And so like, it's almost like a fun task for me, like continually making a place that I want to work in and be in. So
yeah. It's like, when you go to sell a car or trade it in or whatever, if you like clean it up and make it look nice and you're driving to the dealership, you're like, oh dang, I like this car more than I remember it. It's because, well, it's actually clean.
Yeah. Or when you buy a new car and then you don't like it as much because you let it go to crap.
Yeah.
If you just take some time to maintain that, it would be a better environment overall. All right. Yeah. I mean, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I am personally always a work in progress with that. Things still get out of whack, but I'm always striving towards making my environment conducive with the goals that I am striving to reach for, because it's always, like you mentioned, it's going to be a hindrance if it's in the back of my mind and I'm frustrated with how that state is.
Environment's huge.
Environment.
Get
it right.
Get it right. Do you have anything else you want to add about environment?
That's about all I got for today.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect time especially when people have a lot of time, or a lot of people have some time off for the holidays and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's the perfect time to get your environment right around the house, get your house in order, and then go out from there. Get your office in order, make sure everything's right from an environment standpoint if you have control over that, and make 2025 set up a garage gym, but actually put a little effort into it. Mm-hmm. Don't just throw the rack downstairs in the basement, or make it a place you want to be.
Yeah. Cool.
Right on.
That's a wrap.
We'll catch you next time on the Forging Alpha podcast.
Peace.